Anne followed Lan on one of her photo shoots, a silent observer trailing in her wake. The city buzzed around them, a symphony of a million stories, but Lan's camera seemed to capture none of them. She photographed a crack in the pavement, a single discarded glove, the way sunlight fell on a rusty drainpipe. Meaningless things. Finally, Anne couldn't hold back. "What's the point of all this? What are you even trying to say with these pictures?" Lan lowered her camera, a small, knowing smile on her face. "It doesn't have to be for anything, Anne. It doesn't have to say anything at all. It just is." Anne felt a wave of unease. Her answer was simple, yet it felt like a riddle he couldn't solve. It unsettled him deeply. Back at the office the next day, the unease lingered. His boss called him in, a bright, artificial smile on his face. "Anne, great news. We're putting you on the new Henderson account. It's a huge project, a major step up for you." Anne looked at the thick file on the desk, endless charts and projections. His stomach tightened. This wasn't a step up. It felt like a cage. He found Min by the coffee machine. "They want to give me the Henderson project," Anne said, his voice flat. Min's eyes widened. "Anne, that's incredible. It's the opportunity of a lifetime." Everyone in the office was fighting for it. Anne just shook his head. "I don't want it." Min stared at him, bewildered. "Are you crazy?" Anne walked back into his boss's office, his heart pounding. "Sir?" he began, his voice surprisingly steady. "I appreciate the offer, but I have to decline the Henderson project." The boss's smile vanished. He looked at Anne as if he'd just grown a second head. Surprise flickered in his eyes, then a hint of disappointment, maybe even pity. "All right, Anne, if that's your decision." Walking out of that office, Anne felt a sudden, exhilarating rush of relief. It was like a physical weight had been lifted from his shoulders. But as he sat at his desk, the relief slowly curdled into a cold, creeping fear. What had he just done? The fear followed him home. The family dinner that night was an ambush. "You did what?" His father's voice boomed across the table. His mother just looked at him, her eyes filled with worry. "Can't just throw away opportunities like that, Anne. You have responsibilities. Can't just live like this, floating without a purpose." Anne didn't argue, just sat there, picking at his food, the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. Later, sitting alone in the park, an old man sat down on the bench beside him. They sat in silence for a while before the old man spoke, his voice raspy like dry leaves. "Freedom," he said, looking at the distant city lights, "asks permission from no one." Anne turned to him, a desperate question in his eyes. "Okay, but and then what? What comes after?" The old man just looked at him, a deep, unreadable expression in his weathered face, and said nothing. He eventually stood up and walked away, leaving Anne alone with the silence and his unanswered question. That night, Anne couldn't sleep. The question echoed in his mind. Then what? Every small choice he'd ever made seemed to parade before his eyes, haunting him. He thought of Lan, with her camera and her carefree existence. She lived without any apparent discipline, without a 5-year plan or a corporate ladder to climb, yet she seemed so peaceful, so content in her own skin. He decided to try it. He would live like Lan. For 1 week, he did nothing he was supposed to do. He ignored emails from work, he skipped his morning run, wandered the city without a destination, trying to see the world through her eyes. But he couldn't. It was a failure. The lack of structure didn't feel liberating. It felt chaotic. He became irritable and anxious, snapping at everyone. He ran into Min at a cafe. "Heard you're on a vision quest?" Min said with a smirk, stirring his espresso. "How's that going for you? Can't handle a little freedom, can you? It's not as easy as it looks, is it? Turns out, having no rules is its own kind of prison." Min's words hit him like a punch to the gut. Anne felt a profound sense of isolation. No one understood. His family thought he was reckless. Min thought he was weak. And Lan was in a world he couldn't seem to enter. That night, he couldn't bear to be indoors. He walked and walked until his legs ached, the city lights blurring through his tired eyes. The air was cold, biting at his skin. He walked all night, a ghost in the sleeping metropolis. As the first hint of gray appeared on the horizon, a thought crystallized in his mind, cold and sharp as the morning air. Freedom isn't comfortable. It isn't easy or peaceful. It's a raw, unsettling, and demanding state of being. A few days later, Lan came by to say goodbye. I'm going away for a while, she said, her camera bag slung over her shoulder. Going to go shoot the coast by myself. Anne felt a pang, a sudden urge to ask her to stay, to ask if he could come with her. But he didn't, he just nodded. It was another choice not made, another path not taken. He realized then that even in inaction, there is a choice. Responsibility still exists, even when you try to run from it. He stood by his window and watched the sunrise paint the sky in brilliant strokes of orange and pink. He hadn't asked for this feeling, this burden of choice. He hadn't sought it out, but here it was. Finally understood. Freedom isn't something you achieve and then enjoy. It's a constant weight, a heavy coat you can never take off. It's a burden you cannot escape, because the one thing you are never free from is yourself. Thanks for watching.